Good morning. So I am doing a video on change management. So I decided to start working with um, one of the staff members, one of my favorites, Miss Helene, on how to stop smoking. And what I realized is that that's about change management, which I think is something that I studied it in school, but I've always been, I'll say it's a gift because when I do my personality on what thing, I don't know, from a numerological standpoint, I'm a personality 5, which means that I'm extremely adaptable. So adapting is a thing that I do naturally, and it comes probably fairly easy to me. And throughout my life, that's what I've had to do: adapt. We moved around all the time, a lot. Like I said, I changed and went to 12 different schools by the time I graduated high school, and yeah. So from one stage and phase of life to another, I'm constantly adapting, and it makes it kind of, I'll say, easy for me to be kind of easygoing. It could be as agreeable as I can about things. Environments where I got different kind of people around me and stuff. So I'm in a homeless shelter right now, and so it's I've been there for 8 months. It's not the kind of shelter where you gotta come out and try to get a new bed every night, but it's you got your bed once you're in there. It's a program called the Madison Program for women. So anyway, so the other thing I did last night is I accessed my email account and writings that I had begun around prayer and using how to grow and use your personal power. Because initially when I started, it was 2010, I think it was. 2009, 2010, it was when O'Shea was coming to my shrine, and I remember my sister saying she didn't know how to pray. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm getting ready to go into a prayer cycle, which is a thing that's a part of my own personal spiritual practice. So I was gonna share that process with them. So those writings are from that, me sharing with them how to prepare for a prayer cycle and how to go into it. What is the purpose of it? And the purpose of a prayer cycle is change management, actually. So it's usually, I'm approaching it from a mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual standpoint. So so last night when I was talking to Miss Helene, I remember writing down a series of questions, because whenever you change doesn't just happen in an instant. It's a process. And so, saying there's that continuum from 0 to 100 in terms, because she's trying to stop smoking. 0 is when you're not smoking, you're not thinking about smoking, you're not preparing to smoke, you're not smoking. And then 100 is when you got the cigarette in your mouth, basically. So on that continuum, I think at 75% I put when you're preparing to smoke. I think I put at 50% is when you're thinking about smoking. Just starting to give her an idea of that continuum. So it's not so much as you're gonna try to stop doing the whole thing overnight. What you're gonna do is try to work your way down the continuum to 0, where you're not smoking. And know that you go up and down that continuum. And so one of the things you're going to do is you're going to notice what takes you up and down that continuum from a mental standpoint, an emotional standpoint, a physical standpoint, right? So you'll notice your trigger, things that trigger you, to make, and all that kind of stuff. So the more you know about it, the more you can prepare to counter those things. Also, just your consciousness around it, it starts to ignite that change. Your desire to make the change begins to ignite that change. So one of the things I'm doing is realizing that in the context of, and I guess this is probably what you would call coaching, in the context of doing that, one of the things that you're doing is you're educating people along the way, like educating them about how change takes place, educating them, right? As well as walking them through, talking to them about, so they can raise their consciousness about it. So I wrote down a whole series of questions like, okay, well, think about, when did you actually start smoking? What was happening when you started smoking? Because she didn't start smoking till she was 30-something. Okay, so you started smoking. How were you feeling? Okay, then think about, well, when you're smoking, like, what does it mean? What's its purpose for you? So on the one hand, you're saying you want to stop doing it. There are things about it that you don't like. Okay, and what are things that you do like about it? Yeah, that's important to consider, because whatever benefit it's giving you, then you're going to need to consider how you can get that same benefit from something else. So now we're dealing with meaning, meaning loss, and meaning replacement. So, and managing that. That's an important part of change management. So if is it something that makes you relax? Sometimes with cigarette smoking, for example, it's a social thing. Sometimes it's a thing that you do. Like when I've stopped smoking several times. I've been stopped smoking for 10 years, 12 years at a time. So what makes me go back? I don't get down on myself about it. I do it for a period of time, and then I stop. And then I'll stop. What I do is use it as an opportunity to learn more about myself and what's going on with me. And, and then at some point I stop. So like when I start up, I might be smoking for a year. I'm a creature of habit. That's another thing, is to learn. The more you know about yourself, the more you learn to use things about yourself to your advantage, things that might kind of be to your disadvantage sometimes. Like this thing that I'm talking about. I'm a creature of habit. Once I start doing something, I tend to just go on and do it. I love routine. I love structure. Excuse me. And that might be one reason why, because I'm a creature of habit. So, in some cases, that works in my favor. In some cases, it doesn't. But, and when I'm trying to change something, what I try to work to do is create a new routine, create a new habit. And that helps me make a change effectively. So it's not just happening, short term, but it's something that I'm doing ongoing. Another thing I learned and realized is that your habits, I remember Dr. Oz saying this, the things that you do habitually are the things that determine the reality that you live. Right? So it's not what you do every now and again, it's what you do habitually. Like, so if you habitually drink coffee in the morning, that starts to affect your, your body. If you habitually drink water, that affects your system. Not because you decided to do it for a week or you went off on a tangent, for a month, or you do it, once every 3 weeks. That doesn't have as much of an effect on you as what you do habitually. So it's to your advantage to create good habits, to notice what your bad habits are, and just work on changing them. Things don't happen overnight. Like I said, it's a process. So the more you know, understand, and realize that, then the easier it is to manage that change. So that's what I wanted to do this morning. I'm in the process of writing. That's my goal. I'm really trying to write a book. I've been trying to write a book forever, but I'm so much of a performer that I tend to, when I do write, I write for performance. I don't usually just write a book and send it out there because I like feedback on whatever it is I'm doing. So, okay, we had a fire alarm this morning. I'm at Whole Foods to have a cup of coffee, and then I'm going to go back. And I wanted to do this. I wanted to write it, but recording is quicker and easier. All right.